The one reason that Jones is the GOAT is that he's got something that very few people have. That unrelenting belief that he can't be beat. That mental psyche, that mental just steel trap of confidence that nobody could beat him. And that's powerful. I don't care if you wait 3 years or 30 years. When you have that, it's like if you were in a gunfight and the other guy's got a 6-shooter and you got a Gatling gun. When you have that, a lot of people don't realize that. They're just looking at the physical parts of it. You got everything. And Jon Jones has that. And I remember that's the one thing, my saving grace a little bit, because I was saying Gane had a shot, blah, blah, blah. And the experts like Anthony Smith and Rashad, they said they picked Jones for the right reasons. But before we got off the air, I said the one area that he has a distinct advantage, that it might just come down to that, is that he's just mentally tougher than Gane. And you know what? I could stay here for an hour talking about this and that, even though it was a quick stoppage, that he got to geography, which he did. He got his hands on it. He was stronger. He was more adept at that part of the game. But I'd be remiss if I didn't go to where I'm going now, because that's everything. That's what makes Jon Jones the GOAT. That's what makes him so special. That's why he won. He is and I don't want to kick a guy while he's down or knock a guy while he's down like Gane. I'm not trying to do that. But I do want to put forward the truth as I know it, and facts as I know it, and things that are not always easily seen by the naked eye, that you have to put under a microscope to see sometimes, but they're worth seeing. Is that Gane was too soft in that area. That Jones, what he did is unbelievable. But again, the reason he could do it is because he had that power of that he wasn't going to give in until he literally died. Like, in other words, he gets in there, he knows he's going to win. Gane was wondering if he's going to win. And there's a difference between knowing and wondering. And there's a form of submission in life that I think we all go through. We don't like to admit it. We don't like to think about it. But the great ones, they don't. But we all submit to a certain degree. Submit where we hope it's not noticeable. We hope it's not detrimental. We hope it doesn't go, as I said, the degree where it changes the trajectory from failure to success, where we can overcome it. But there's degrees of submission where you just give a little bit, where you compromise under pressure just a little bit. I talk about it on ESPN. I used to always talk about it where I would say, watch. Right now, it's like the middle of July. It's 110 degrees out, and there's a little puddle of water, and it's being evaporated right in front of your eyes. 1 minute it's there, you're not noticing it, and the next minute it's gone. It got evaporated. This guy is being evaporated. And sometimes the pressure of the moment is the sun. It doesn't have to be 110 degrees sun. It can just be what's in the guy's mind. The moment. There's an old saying, Ken, of some people can't handle the hot lights. Some people can't get on the stage. The hot lights melt them. There's truth to that. The lights don't literally melt your skin, but they melt your will. And some people are prepared better for that than others. Jones is born into that. Jones lives in that. Jones is forged in that fire for that. Gane has never been on that stage to deal with those lights, the intensity of all, with a GOAT. There's something about the presence of a GOAT. When you're in an octagon and and that guy's there, the devil comes to the door. You know, everyone talks, when the devil comes, I'm going to shoo him away until the devil comes. And then when the devil comes, what happens? Well, the devil's coming, and the devil shows up, and he's there, and he's in the octagon with you. There's something debilitating about the presence. He's got that presence. I know it's physical. I know it's athletic. I know it's technical. I know it's all of those things, but it's also the fact that he presents this, that he projects this, that he is this. I think, simply put, Gane was too soft mentally. Now look, he missed a punch. He got too close. Kind of a little mistake. Not as obvious as the one that Shevchenko made, where she missed the spinning kick and, Grasso was able to close the gap. But he missed a punch. He fell in. Jones put his hands on him. That's where he didn't want to be, especially that early, when he didn't have any confidence built up yet, where he was still feeling the stage fright maybe, that moment, never being on that kind of stage with this kind of guy.
And still fresh and dry, like Johnny Bones Jones is super fresh, so if he does get his hands on you, he's going to be that much stronger, and everyone's still dry,
Perfect
no way
point.
To slip out. That's exactly what happened.
But a little level of submission where he allowed himself, he just gave in a little. Jones don't give in a little. Where he gave in just a little bit, he gets on. I'm taking nothing away from what Jones did. That's all part of what Jones did, everything I'm describing. But he gives just a little, not the great resistance that Jones would have presented to not get to where he didn't want to get to. He allowed himself to be somewhere he shouldn't have been. Just a little level of submission. Whatever you want to call it, lack of focus, whatever. And I'm not saying he tapped out too fast. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that he wasn't a guy, he wasn't like Volkanovski, who's also one of those special guys, and Chimaev even, that he ain't tapping out. I mean, you might knock him out unconscious, but he ain't tapping out. He's going to find a way. And that's one of the greatness about guys like Joe. They're going to find a way. They're gonna if the lights are flickering, if the lights are dark, they're gonna find a way to put the lights on. They don't give a damn what they got to do. If they got to climb up and pull the sun down to bring light, whatever it is, they have that mindset.
Well, Teddy, I'll give you a concrete example of Jon Jones when he was fighting Chael Sonnen. If you remember back, I forget how long ago it was, but they were fighting, and Jon Jones got a compound fracture of his left big toe. So his left toe dislocates, the bone breaks, and it pokes out of the skin. And Johnny Jones, I think they either wrapped tape around it or whatever they did. He got back in there and finished the fight. But and he's not the only guy that would do that, but that's the best example of the just being willing to go through hell. And
it's funny when you bring that up, because he came into the octagon with tape on his toes. Now, I don't know if he had a little injury. He might have. Now, I'm glad you brought that up. Nobody really talked about that because it was over so fast. But he came into the octagon with a couple of his toes. I don't know if it was that foot.
And his foot. He had foot and toes taped. They made him cut the tape off. Yeah, around the ankle and the toes. And they made him cut it off. But you wonder why he had it. He had it for a reason, that maybe he had an injury in camp, maybe he had a dislocated toe, maybe he had a bruised toe, injured, whatever, sprained. The basketball players in the NBA, you see them tape their fingers together when they get a dislocated finger or a sprained finger, so they're able to play with the tape together, obviously to keep it rigid, so they don't feel the pain. They don't re-injure it.
I would think it was along those lines of why Jones would have been taping them together. Whatever. They cut the tape off. Did that throw him into a dizzy where oh my God, no, he went in there, it didn't matter. If one of the toes fell off, as you were talking about, that wouldn't have mattered either. He was mentally tougher than Gane. I know all the other stuff people are going to be saying, but that's where it starts. That's where it starts. And that's the one thing, like I said on the set, where I said, it might just come down. And then my son grabbed me afterwards. He said, Dad, that's what you said at the end is probably it. You, without even realizing, you basically said Jones is going to win, even though you said Gane could win. Because that's the most important part of the whole thing, is just saying that he might just be too mentally tough for this guy.